Right. Welcome back to the Be Invincible podcast, the new episode today. And we have a special guest, Mo, with us. He's a full pack knowledge of what all you need in terms of identifying how you can set up business. What are the essentials for setting up a great business? Identifying how do you make sure that you get the right clients? How do you deliver absolutely bang on required results? And the most important thing, how do you retain clients? He has been working since many years, 17 years, if I'm aware of, and he's been into sales, marketing, operations, and everything with a great background of domain. And also, he's helping mostly mentoring people in terms of operations. How do you make sure that you have great operations set up? And, further ado, I will just ask Mo to introduce
Yes,
himself and let us know
thank you.
about him and his experience.
Thank you very much for this lovely, warming introduction, Ajinkya, and it's my pleasure to be here, and I am honored that you did invite me. And first of all, to the people watching slash listening, I apologize about the glare behind me. The sun's a little unexpectedly too strong, and I didn't have enough time to move my setup elsewhere, so I apologize about that in advance. But thank you again, Ajinkya, for the time and for the invite. My background is I am a university professor. I teach operations management. I teach statistics, principles of management, strategy, business decision making. And I also own a business coaching company, the Growth Coach of Allentown, Somerville, through which, like you mentioned, I work with small, medium, large companies to help them systemize their operations, operationally speaking, do more with less. So get the most out of their resources, better manage their time, manage their employees, become a little more efficient and effective. I could go on and on and on, but the gist of it is I help businesses do better with what they have. And I enable the business owners to work more on their business versus in their business so that they're not employees, but they actually have the opportunity to grow their business. Over almost a couple of decades, I've been working between academia and between business coaching and consulting. And I'm hoping today, like you said, I can share some of the lessons learned that I got out of working with some business owners in the hopes that it will benefit your platform and your audience.
Right. Thank you for that brief
You're
introduction,
very welcome.
Mo. You said that you have been working within your own firm and in coaching and consulting. What 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 are the theme of questions and struggles you have received from your clients or from people you're serving or you're helping? What are the common questions they have in terms of their business growth?
Interesting question. I think the one that I thought of right off the bat that came to my mind is they feel stagnant. They feel like they're not growing, which brings up, and there's many more questions, but let's focus on this one because it could touch upon a very broad spectrum of areas.
Right.
When they say that, right, it could mean that they're physically not able to invest more into their business to grow the square footage or to expand their geography. It could mean that they've hit a limit as far as acquiring new customers. They've hit a limit as far as even with getting more and more and more customers, but their market share isn't expanding. So it usually has to really do around market growth
Mhm.
or business growth, so to speak. Some others talk about time management, which could be a whole other discussion.
Right.
Some talk about connecting and communicating with their team. They feel that there's a disconnect. So it's a different array of topics, so to
Mhm.
speak, but I think those are the first ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I think what I have been hearing from many of my connections and network is uh, inconsistent in bringing the client to them. Like for example, landing clients, right? They're struggling to first of all, where should they find the clients? How should they reach out to them? And how should they make sure that they have consistent inflow of clients? Do you have any idea in terms of what they can implement as a framework that can help them in their approach getting more clients?
Let me focus on that one very, 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 very important word that you just said, framework. Let's
Yeah.
take a step back and talk about that. Meaning, as a business coach versus a consultant, business coaches are, and I'll tell you why I'm saying all this. I'll lead into the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Business coaches are like trainers at a gym. A consultant, and you're an expert in this field, right? When we're cognizant, consultants take the work and they do it themselves,
Right.
right? Give me this. I'm your client. Take this from me. Do it. I'll pay you $10 for it. Get it done by the end of the week. That's a
Right.
consultant. The business coach works on the mindset. You come to me at Jinkya. I go to the gym. I go to LA Fitness, whatever gym, and I tell them I want to build up my cardio stamina.
Yeah.
They help me work. They tell me do this, do this, do this, do this, right? I do the work. That's what the coach does. When a business owner comes to me, I help tweak, finesse, massage, whatever word you want to call their mind to get them to think about things in a different way so that they view their market, view their clientele in a different way, and they do the work.
Right.
With that said, back to what you said earlier. Yes, one of the challenges, one of the obstacles that business owners, salespeople have is here,
Right.
where this is my product, this is what I sell. This is all the good things it does better than my competition. This is how it's going to service you. Take it. Meaning they focus on the product or service that they do. They just feature dump all the benefits that that product has, and they hope that the customer will appreciate what they do and it will stick and they'll buy it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way anymore. We are in a more consumer-centric world than a product-centric world, meaning we
Right.
don't go out, just throw my product out there, hoping somebody, right, will get 10% of the market share,
Right.
right? We don't do that anymore. There's so much data, and we talked about this via our communications before. There's so much data out there, more analytics available, more technology. I mean, God knows now we heard about AI and what it does. There's so much to use that people are knowing who their customer is, right?
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that instead of me focusing on my product, I should look at this is my product, step one. Step two, this is what my product does. Step three, this is the benefit that you will get, Mr. Customer or Mr. Client, out of my product.
Right.
Now, I look at that benefit, right? That's a value.
Right.
And I see who can utilize that value, who can utilize that benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I target that specific niche, that specific customer. What companies do are they throw the darts in the dark blindly.
Right.
That's why they come back. Do you get what I'm saying, Ejeka,
Yeah.
right? Like that's why they come back a year later after they spent their whole budget on marketing. It was a general idea. But once you understand what you really get out of your product, out
Mm-hmm.
of your service, and understand what specific tailored problem you're solving,
Mm-hmm.
marry it to the benefit that your product offers, it changes your whole mindset about how you approach the market.
Right. So if I understand correctly, I think don't be a generalist, be a specialist, and then uh, hit the pain point of the customer and let them know that how are they going to get value rather than selling your product, that my product
Exactly.
does a by a
Exactly.
b c d. No, so you should go and say, okay, if you are going through this is how you can get benefit out of it, and then say,
Exactly.
okay, all right.
Exactly. And do you know, not to, I'll give it back to you in a second, but you know what came to my mind
Mhm.
on LinkedIn, how me and you connected?
Yeah.
I always get those messages. Mo, I came across your profile. I would love the opportunity to sit with you and talk to you about how my product, blah, blah, blah. How do you even know I need your product?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like, how do you know I need it? Or better yet, the way I might need your product, but the way or service that the way you're promoting it to me, no, that's not what I need it for. Versus, Mo, I would love a minute to sit, grab a coffee with you or to connect with you just to introduce myself and get to know what you do.
Right.
Once you start talking, Mo, what headaches do you have? What challenges do you have in your business? Start relating to the customer, build that rapport
Mhm.
first before you
Yeah.
even talk about your business.
Right.
That's the magic of really connecting with your market or your target audience.
So you're saying that approach them emotionally first, make that build, make that connection, and then understand their problems and concern, and then maybe
Keep
Don't
going.
even directly sell your product. Maybe say, okay, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you try that? Or maybe and then get into that zone of, selling the
Yes.
benefits.
Yes. I'll give you an example, Ajinkya.
Yeah, yeah,
When I sit with somebody, what problems are you having? I've had these problems with my employees. I haven't been able to evaluate them properly. So, Mr. Bob, would it help you if you had specific goals that you can use? Oh, yeah, I think that would help. Why do you say that, Mo? Because if you have goals and objectives for each employee, you can target them at a specific point in time to see how they're doing. It gives you a point of contact. Well, how would I do that? Well, then you set up an evaluation plan. Do you see how it goes?
yeah.
And then at the very, very, very end, well, you know what? Maybe we could set up another meeting, Bob, where I can tell you some of the solutions that I have. I haven't spoken anything about what I do
True,
until the very end.
right,
People rush to the end first.
true.
And that's why it works. Sometimes it works. I mean, some
Yeah,
people, it works. If you're a 7-Eleven selling hot dogs and Pepsi, right, a retail commodity product, it'll work. This is what
yeah.
I sell. I have it 50% off today. But in a market where every business has competition, in a market where everybody the power is in the hands of the consumer, the businesses have to start thinking in a different way.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you said it works sometimes. Maybe I mean, I've heard a lot about cold outreach. Does it still work now, cold outreach, or a networking or a reference is more preferred way nowadays to reach out more clients?
Look, I could tell you my own personal experience. If somebody cold calls me, I hang up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So think about like I mean, we're consumers. Think about your own scenario. How many cold calls do you really pick up? Right? Or
Um,
even give them the benefit of the second, knowing that now most of them are AI robocalls. I don't think they work anymore. I mean, some businesses, God bless them, they want to try it. I personally would never ever call somebody. Now, I would go to a networking event and introduce myself. That's, maybe some people might take that as a cold call, but
yeah,
people see me, I'm introducing myself, I'm getting to know them on a personal level, different than, an email, just sending out mass emails or mass calls. I don't do
right.
that. I'm not in favor of that type of business model,
Yeah,
personally.
I've seen many coaches nowadays as well talks about how you can cold outreach someone through emails, uh, and then keep on bombarding them with emails every other day or every week. And then once they might see the value and then they get back to you. So you're just making sure that you are nurturing that particular, if you have the database of customers, then you can do that. But the first question what comes is, where do we find this kind of database, right? So there are certain questions which I have received many times, that where do I find clients? Where do I find details about how should I reach out to them, cold calling or cold emailing, right? So these are more questions as well. Like, for example, how should I find out this kind of database?
See, there's a two prongs to what I just said, and I disagree with you on one point, but I'm not going to jump to assumption. I may be assuming what you meant, but let's take two steps, right? So I set up various emails. I agree. I'm from the school that says 80% of more of my customers will decide to work with me after 10 to 12 points of contact. I
Oh,
agree. I agree. But here's the thing. Those coaches, and I'm not going to talk about you because those hypothetically speaking coaches that send out an email and then send out another email and then make a phone call. Again, what are you communicating if you don't know what I want?
true.
Right? Unless you literally list out your whole website and the email, everything that you do with all of the benefits, and somebody has the patience and the time to read through all of it,
Yeah.
how are you connecting with me if you don't know? Now, back to the other part of your question, right? One way, for example, me, where do I find customers? One way to do that, find a strategic partner that services the same type of clientele that you have
Okay.
and connect with them, meaning a bookkeeper that works with clients,
Hmm.
and some of those clients are struggling financially, and
Hmm.
he can see or she can see that those clients need help structuring their business. Mo, here's a list of 50 customers a month that I've worked with that
Hmm.
are struggling. Now I start getting an idea. I know those are businesses that are financially struggling, and he
Right.
gives me some intel as far as maybe they're struggling with their market, with growth. I can start customizing my emails to go on after. Do you see what I mean,
Yeah,
Ajinkya?
yeah.
So you need that starting point. So that's one way I do it. I go to networking events. I find accountants that do taxes for businesses that are almost bankrupt,
Hmm.
bookkeepers. The more you think about the benefit behind what you do, you can find the right strategic partners that will give you the right customer database, and then it's a mutual relationship.
Right.
You share with them, they share with you. You set up workshops together, you invite more people that gravitate towards both of you.
Makes sense.
That's how, literally, how sometimes I find my customers, my clients.
Yeah, I think networking events like there are so many questions I have received because I have been to most of these networking events which is happening around the city, right? There are people who are into business but are introvert. They cannot
Ah,
go and directly talk to someone and start networking. I have seen a lot of them. I myself one of them. So um
really? You don't come across as such at all. No, really, no seriousness, you don't. But I get your point. I get your
yeah.
point.
Yeah. So what would you recommend to these people? Because one of the major roadblocks for them to grow in a business, right? Unless you network and go and talk to them, people, how would people know that what you do? That's what I feel, right? But
That's a magical question. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'll tell you one sentence, if anybody listening, to take away is what I'm going to say right now. Do not underestimate the power of the comfort zone. Meaning what? My comfort zone, I know, just for example, someone, their comfort zone is when they're in a big networking event. Oh my God, all these people that I don't know, the first thing they crawl back into their comfort zone and they shut down and they don't talk, right?
right.
That is to me one of the biggest definitions of how you could become your own enemy, where being an interest, some people are born like that. Like, look, I believe personally there's people that are, I'm certified in giving the DISC analysis, right? Which is a
Mhm.
behavioral analysis tool.
Right.
Within that DISC, there's personalities that are task oriented, and
Yeah.
there are some that are people oriented. There are some that are aggressive, some that are passive. Some people have the tendency to be introverts,
True.
but the idea is you have to challenge your status quo. You
Hmm.
have to go out and understand, right? It's a transactional process, a relational transactional process. If I want my business to grow, I
Right.
have to do this, this, this. On the other hand, to be realistic, no matter how many times I talk to people, sometimes they don't change their personality.
Yeah.
What you need to do in that case, you have to augment. Find somebody that is open, that is outgoing, and assign to them that task or responsibility to go out and do the networking for you. But
Okay.
don't be in denial saying that I can do it when you know in reality there is no way you're going to take that step to be open enough to communicate and talk with somebody. So there are I see this a lot. I agree with you 100%. There are introverts that just can't break out of that comfort zone, and then we can continue to talk about limiting beliefs and how we
Yeah.
conquer those and so on. But I had two episodes with George, my partner, in Back to Basics in our podcast. We
Yeah.
spent like 2 hours talking about limiting beliefs, and one of them was being an introvert, right? And
Yeah.
how that limits, right? So yeah, I agree with you. That is an existing, I don't want to say issue, but point, that valid point that does limit people sometimes.
So what is that one thing you recommend to people like these introverts that they should do before getting into a networking event or before talking to anyone else? What that one shift they should think that'll at that point of time remove all the roadblocks and just let them introduce, at least start with that introduction, because I think that's where
That's
everything starts.
That's exactly it. And one of my clients, that's exactly what I'm doing with. Uh, he is an introvert, struggles a little bit with the connections, and he's a genius. He knows very, very well his product and
Uh-huh.
service, but he doesn't. So what we did was, step one, go out, have coffee with one person and practice your dialogue, practice the communication. And I observed, I sat behind like far and I observed the dialogue. And then afterwards, what do you think went well? What do you think went, where did you feel like you got, like stuck back? Oh, let me
Yeah.
go back into my comfort zone. And we talk about it. And then that one person becomes two people. You build up. So to answer your question, that flip, that switch is to start building your confidence that,
Yeah.
what? I can do this. Because most of the people, Ajinkya, that I see that don't do this, it's built upon a limiting belief that they have had because of an experience that they had, because of something that someone told them, you can't do this. No, 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 no. It could even be their parent, right?
Yeah.
When they were young, that they told them, you're not the kind to go out and talk. It sticks in your mind and it grows with you and it becomes so convincing that it's part of you, who you are. So build that switch is to try to find out the source, the beginning, not to be psychiatrists, but really just on our own, start thinking about where that starting point of when did it start happening
Hmm.
and start reversing it. Build that confidence gradually to get to that point.
Right. So I think in a one-liner, I would say that just take that first step.
That's it. Take
Yeah.
that first plunge into the cold, freezing
Yeah.
water. Just dive right in,
Great. I
head
think this
first.
is really, really valuable for anyone who's listening and who is introvert and struggling to, get to that zone of getting introduced to new people, talk about themselves, get more clients. I think this is one way to get more clients in terms of growing your business. Now, more one question following to
Yes.
that, like the next step comes in when you have clients. How do you make sure that you deliver quality results every single time? How do you make sure that? Like what's your recommendation there?
I'm trying to think of an example that we can apply to this answer. So you're saying that you're my client, we've built that relationship, we shook hands, and now I am servicing you, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. If it's just me that's doing the work without a team, before I even start evaluating what I'm doing, I have to be very, and I'm trying to take a complex scenario where it's not like I'm building a chair or a table. Is this what
Right.
you wanted? Here you go, right? Not like that, but more of a complex situation so that we can try to cover all the different aspects of it. Before I even begin, after we shake hands, before I begin the work, I would consider very, very seriously putting together an FRD, a requirements document. Is this exactly what you want? Because a lot of people, I notice sometimes in their mind, they see a problem and they ask for a solution. And 4 months later, X amount of money later, I give them what they thought was going to solve the problem and it didn't, and they blame me. So,
Mm,
meaning sometimes people think that the solution they're after will solve the problem. So we go back to asking why.
yeah.
After I ask why you want to do this, and they tell me the problem, and I'm like, okay, that will serve the purpose, or maybe we should do this instead. Document everything in writing, share it with the client, get the blessing, the stamp of approval, and then the next step, setting up, it doesn't have to be daily, it doesn't have to be super frequent, but setting up scheduled touch points with the client to ensure that you're heading in the right direction. You're
Mhm.
meeting their expectations, right? As you so that you don't face the dilemma where at the very end you hand them the thing and like, what is this? That's not what I even wanted, right?
Right.
So to ensure that quality control process, proper, healthy, structured communication with the client where you're soliciting input and feedback as you go through the process. Now,
Right.
it becomes a lot more complex if you have a team that's doing that, because
Mm,
now you have, right, the liability is not on you. You're responsible for something that others are doing. So you have to, that triangle now includes your team that's doing the work. You have to also ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to do.
right.
No assumptions. No assumptions. The biggest disaster I see is when somebody doesn't hear from the client, doesn't hear from the employee, assumes everything's going a-okay.
Hmm.
No,
Okay.
right? You have to have that communication.
So using that documentation
Mhm.
processes and regular
Regular,
cadences in terms of meetings, regular meetings in terms of making sure
yes,
that you're meeting with the team members and understanding what are they doing, making sure that you're meeting the clients and telling them that what exactly we have been done, like regular maybe product demos or something which is basically showing
yeah,
them what has been done so far. And it's kind of an
exactly.
agile methodology, which
Mhm.
which basically an iterative process of showcasing what they are getting it in terms of instead of building everything and showing it at the end and say this is what you asked for and this is what it is, We just break them into smaller chunks and then make sure that it's slowly and steadily built in terms of what exactly the client wants. Correct?
As generic and as simple as it sounds, you're absolutely correct. That is where most of the miscommunication and headaches happen because of that. And sometimes it's because of the stubbornness of the business owner, the consultant that they, how can I be wrong?
Hmm.
It's the lack of knowledge that, wow, I really should have reached out to the client to check with them. I
Hmm.
should have checked on my team. I should have clarified what's needed. As simple as it sounds, that's the root of most of the problems that
Hmm.
I face.
Right.
So
I
you're
think,
correct, yes.
yeah, most of the questions which I actually hear, I read a lot as well, that people ask that should we, when I'm setting up a business, right? For example, should I first set up systems or should I first set up my team? Right? So I have clients, for example, they are ready to come on board. But now, should I set up my system first and standard operating procedures, or should I first set up my team and then get into a system? Because there's something, a big question there. Where should I go first, right? Because people struggle there.
Let me answer it with a question. How would you know who you need to hire if you don't know what jobs you need? And how will you know what jobs you need within your company if you don't know the system? Start with the system, start with your mission, what you want to do,
Yeah,
your corporate strategy. Translate those into, okay, based upon this corporate strategy, I need this business unit sales, I need marketing, I need research and development, I need. For each one, each business unit strategy, I mean, each business unit, each department has its business unit strategy that links to the corporate strategy
right,
that cascades down to tangible goals.
right.
Based upon those goals, you know what? I need to actually, my objective is to be nationwide. That means I need 12 sales reps. Now I know that I need 12 positions. So you cannot start backwards. I would
Right.
start with the system. My SOP
Hmm.
I would start with my vision,
Right,
my mission, my objective as a business owner, cascade that all the way down to an org chart.
right,
Don't start with an org chart. How do you know?
right,
That's the very, very last thing.
right. I think you touched upon a very important topic, which I think most of the business owners here in India do not follow is vision and mission, right? They just feel that providing service is a business, right?
Yeah.
Or providing or getting or delivering product to someone who's looking out for it is a business. But I think I want to understand from your perspective how much a vision and a mission important for a business success and a business growth.
100% of the clients that I work with,
Mhm.
100%, no exception. If they call me and say, Mo, we want to systemize our business, I start with a vision or a mission.
Oh,
Where do I want to be? And then a strategy that says, how am I going to get there? I cannot start anything without that. So always, how do you know where? I mean, if you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, do you want to just grow a business to sell it? Do you want
mhm.
to grow a business that stays in your family for 10 generations? Do you want to have a one product business? Right. If you don't know what you want, how are you going to do anything?
Mhm.
And that's the vision. The vision is not, it doesn't have to be like a glorified statement that you write on a website. It doesn't have to be that. Just as simple as jotting down on a napkin, this is what I want to do, right? And make it
Right,
clear enough so that your team knows what you expect of them to do. So definitely, I would say you have to start with that.
right. So a vision and a mission supporting that vision, right?
Yes, and some businesses look to keep it very simple, Ajinkya, to keep it simple. Some businesses just have a mission statement. This
Mhm.
is where we want to be. This is what we're about. This is where we want to be in 2 years.
Okay.
This is our strategy as far as how we're going to do that. That's it. Keep it very simple. Some businesses add a vision. This is, our vision of the future. Some businesses add core values. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves ethically.
Right.
Our employees are going to be empowered. We're all about, like Wegmans or FedEx, they're all about their employees. Some businesses do that, but if you want to keep it simple enough, the basics are a mission statement and a strategy.
Wow.
You have to have that.
Yeah, I've been part of this mastermind group where they talk about a vision is something where you see the world how the world should be after you implement your service? Or
Hmm.
what is your vision, like a world of all the invincible people mindset, right? So for example, if I talk about be invincible, what is the vision? A vision is a world where everyone is having an invincible mindset.
The
And
ability to do what they want.
yeah, so and basically that's the vision, but a mission is I want to reach out to 1 million people who are struggling in their life and hit the ceiling. And I want to help them with my process driven framework to come out of that zone and build an invincible mindset. That's my mission.
Perfect.
I have this vision where I see the world version of it. But
Hmm.
to solve that, I have a mission where I say, okay, I want to first reach out to 1 million people where they're
Hmm.
struggling, and I want to help them with my framework and then build that mindset where they can always see any opportunities, challenges, struggles, and build that mindset to overcome that challenge and become invincible.
Let's continue with that example. So my strategy now is that I'm going to have to target strategic partners. I'm going to have to target existing businesses and target people that are starting new businesses.
Right,
So now each one of these becomes a department by itself. So now I'm going to have one person that's going to go out. Do you see what I mean? And that's how you start with the corporate
right,
strategy. And then each one of those business units, so to speak, are going to have their own
right.
business strategy. So out of those million people, 500,000 will be the strategic partner. Do you see? And that's exactly it. And then you
Yeah,
hit goals. By January 1st, I'm going to have
true.
10,000 people and so on and on and on. That's a perfect
Right.
example. That's exactly it.
Right. I think this is really helpful, and I think anyone who is listening to this, watching this later, define your vision. Right. What exactly you want to achieve? What exactly you think about your approach in terms of how you're going to give value to others. Right. Don't think business as something you sell, but give
Mhm.
value to others as something what a business should focus on. Right. Because I've been taught about from my mentors, which I'm learning is just think about giving values. Right.
Mhm.
The money becomes a byproduct, but if you just think about money, 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 then it's not a long, journey for you, because sometimes when you just don't get money, you get frustrated and you get into a zone of like self-doubt and what are you doing? You're not getting that money. But if you just
Mhm.
feel satisfied when you give value, then I think it's a long journey where you can just keep on giving value, and the money comes as a byproduct. That's what my mentors have been teaching me. What is your thought process on that?
No, it's absolutely true because I'll tell you why we say that. People will buy from you because of you, not because
Right,
of your product, right? They want to identify and link to you. And to do that, you have to show the value of what you're going to give them and you have to be sincere. Why again? Why do they identify and connect to you? Because all of us as humans, we base our decision to buy or do anything based upon emotion, an emotional aspect,
right,
and then we justify it with a logical reason afterwards. How
right,
can you do that if I go and tell you buy this from me for $10?
right,
Right? That there's It's too dry. So you have to build that emotional connection. And the best way to do it is by showing the value. And how do you do that? Goes back to what we said at the beginning. Show the benefit, show what problem you're going to solve.
right.
Build that rapport, relate to
Mhm.
the audience,
Right.
and it will happen. Emotion is the key.
Right. I think this is something very valuable. And I think the next step when you have a process where you know that you're getting consistent client, you have your system, you have your processes, you have your team to make sure that you deliver consistent results, right?
Mhm.
Now, my next question is, how do you want to make sure how anyone who is running a business make sure that they retain their existing client for a longer duration, for a longer time, so that they have a recurring revenue, so that they have a customer loyalty, and they have a great referral system built up for them to grow in their business. What do you recommend?
Okay. Don't take the customer for granted. Don't assume that they're going to be with you forever.
Mhm.
Meaning what? What do you mean, Mo, by that? I mean, don't assume that if you keep your product and you don't maintain it up to date with the standards that are in the market,
Right.
that they're going to stay with you. They will leave because your key customer that you have that brings you the most money is your competition's golden prospect. They're just waiting to take that customer from you. So what you have to do is stay up to date on what the market trends are, the market dynamics, what new technologies are out there, what your competition is doing,
Mhm.
what your competition is doing well. What are they doing that sucks, that doesn't make sense? So you avoid doing it. That's the
Hmm.
market intelligence, right?
Right.
When you think of it at a low level, that's exactly what we're talking about. Read what the customers say about you. Solicit feedback from your customers, from your clients.
Right.
Just because they buy from you every year for the past 20 years doesn't mean they like you. It could mean that they haven't found someone else to go to yet. So you
Right.
have to keep the communication open with the client, right?
Hmm.
So having that constant dialogue, not taking them for granted, staying up to date with what the competition is doing, what the market is asking for, is very, very, very important. And the good thing about it is that now, like we said, like half an hour ago, we have the data and the information to do so.
Right. And is there a strategy that can be implemented? Like, for example, one example you said, research your competitors, right?
Mhm.
Uh, should we research about their good things, or should we research about their bad things so that we avoid bad things? What do you think?
Both.
Both.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like, see, look at both. Look at what they're doing good and look at so that you can mimic and replicate it, and look at what they're doing bad so that you can avoid it. Look at the mistakes that they did. Read their reviews. See what people are complaining about. It may be something that you're doing and now you can stop doing it, right?
Mhm.
So both. Look at everything that they're doing. Look at new businesses, competition that's just entering the market.
Mhm.
Right? What are they entering the market with? It goes back, Ajinkya, to what we call in academia the Porter five forces analysis, right?
Okay.
When you look at the buyer power, the supplier power, you look at the threat of a new entrant, the threat of a substitute, right? So
Mhm.
even look at sometimes your competition could be, I'll give you an example. Sometimes if you are a restaurant, your competition could be not another restaurant, but it could be Hello Fresh that delivers fresh made meals to a home. Do you see
Yeah,
what I mean?
makes
So it
sense.
could be something that you don't see coming. So the more you know about the market and the more you understand who the substitutes or the competitors are, the
Mhm.
better you can survive.
So, what could be our strategy for us to make sure that we keep up with these kind of competition coming on? Like, it's gonna be forever. Like today, if I have launched my product, tomorrow someone else could also launch something better than my product. How
Mhm.
should I make sure that I make sure I, evolve my product, continuously? What would you recommend?
Be your customer, be your client. I go out and I envision myself being somebody that's looking for a coach, and I do searches online. I
Hmm.
look at videos, podcasts, whatever is out there that can service a person looking for a coach.
Yeah.
And I see what those people are offering. Because
Hmm.
those people, right, like they're after somebody that's like me, that's a
True.
client looking for a coach. So you bring them to you by just becoming a client and look, not that you're misleading them, trying to reach out to them as a client. No, but I'm saying look at the data that's out there. Think like your customer. What would they be looking for? What would they be
Hmm.
searching for? And see what comes to you.
Hmm.
That it's market research. That's all it
Right.
is. Now, if you have the budget to reach out to a market research company to do surveys and gather intel, you have that financial luxury, by all means do it. Go to a market research company and let them gather the data for you. But realistically speaking, right, we all want to save money. We all want to make the best
Yeah.
out of our money. Do it yourself. Just see what the market tells you.
Yeah. So you talked about, coaching and consulting, and you also getting into that service where you provide a lot of help to people who are looking out for coaching. What do you think that a role of a coach in starting a business, you know, identifying the struggles, helping them coming out of those problems, and making sure that the business grows? How important a coach or a mentor is for a business owner?
I can't, I'm trying to think of a scenario where even me, my coaching business, I'm a business owner.
Mhm.
I had reached out to people to help me better manage my time so that I can properly make the best out of my week. I
Right.
needed help. That's my point. I can't think of any business that couldn't use, I can't think of anybody that can't use advice from someone that's done something that they've done.
Mhm.
I'm not saying reach out to me. I'm not saying reach out to you. Reach out to whoever you're comfortable with. And I'm not saying you have to work with them for the rest of your life,
Right.
but have that consultation, have that sit down to see what blind spots. That's what I always tell the people that sit with me. Come sit with me. Everything's working fine. Great. We shake
Mhm.
hands and we leave.
Right.
But just find out what blind spots do you have that you didn't think about? What things do you not see coming? So I really think everybody can benefit from listening to someone else,
Mhm.
right? And realistically speaking, yes, some people know their competition as friends. You can go sit with one of your competitors and see how they're doing.
Right.
But most likely you will get better advice from a coach that's worked with your competition.
Mhm.
And they can give you some, respecting the privacy and confidentiality, but they can give you some lessons learned that
Yeah.
will benefit you. What you decide to do with it afterwards is up to you.
Right. I
You
think
can make another,
yeah. What I
go
feel
ahead.
is someone who is already gone through these struggles is aware of what exactly should not be done when you are getting into a journey of a business ownership, right? So having someone as a coach or a mentor will always help you to guide you in terms of what should you not do rather than, do this, do this, do this. Instead of telling
Exactly.
people do what, they will help you to what not to do in your business journey,
Yeah.
right? Because they've already
I
gone
agree with you. I agree
through
with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And it doesn't have to be every day, every week. It could
right,
be once a month, once every 2 months, and just
right.
where you sit. I have clients where we just touch base once a month. We go grab coffee, we sit, talk for an hour, and
Mhm.
that's it. How are things going? We know this is what I'm planning on doing. Do this, don't do like you said. No, avoid this, do this instead.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a very intense relationship. I am not of the thought where when I get a client, I have to sign them up. Oh, you have to pay $30,000 for this 2-year course. I don't do that, right?
Mhm.
You take every person for who they are and what they need,
True.
and you structure the relationship accordingly.
Mhm. That's great. Yeah, I think if anyone wants to reach out to you, how should they reach out? Like, because of course, people will watch this podcast. Maybe they want your coaching help, your expertise to help them navigate from their business problems. How should they reach out to you?
Oh, sure. I mean, they can find me on my website. They can call me 484-554-7415. They
Mhm.
can reach out to me on my email address, melhussin @thegrowthcoach.com. I'll be happy to connect with them. And if later, maybe, when we post, we can put my website at the
Yeah.
bottom. They can reach to me whichever way that they want. And again, reaching out to me or to any coach does not indicate that we're going to be working together. It's
Right.
just a talk, brainstorming together, chatting,
Hmm.
putting them in the right direction, and that's it. I don't think, uh, personally, I think there's nothing more beautiful or meaningful than us helping each other out.
That's true.
Be it, like I think that's one of the best meanings that we get out of our lives, right? When we help someone that we know we can. I've had people that helped me throughout my career and life that changed me, and they
Mhm.
never got anything in return. So just having that opportunity to connect with somebody, I'm more than happy to do so.
Sure. I think this is really helpful. And I think someone who wants to understand how should they get into the business zone, right? How should they get out of the problems, struggles, and challenges? I would recommend reach out to Mo. I will share
Okay.
all the details, his email address, his LinkedIn profile, and as well his website and his phone number. He's already given that, but I will also share that information so that you can reach out to Mo if you have any questions. It's not necessary, like he said, that you guys can get into a business agreement, but it could be a simple chat. That could be
Yes.
your first step of networking. Maybe, like we discussed, that take that first step, reach out to help. And asking for help is always better. Don't get into that zone of asking that question to yourself, what if it doesn't work? So it
Mhm.
doesn't work like that. Just go ahead, take that first step, reach out to Mo, reach out to me. If you have any questions about how do you make sure that you get that business going, get that clients, how you make sure that you deliver quality results and retain all of your clients for a longer duration. So I think I really want to thank Mo for joining
My
today.
pleasure. My
And it
pleasure.
was really, really great discussion. So anyone who is reaching out to me, I will navigate to you. I will share all the information. And it was really great talking to you, Mo. Have a great day
Same
today.
here. Thank you very much, Ajinkya. Thank you. Take
All
care.
right.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.